Swallowing your nightly magnesium pill without the right biological preparation can actively tear your intestinal lining, causing severe cellular damage while you sleep. I'm going to show you the hidden chemical traps turning this miracle mineral into a cellular nightmare, and the counterintuitive hydration trick required to fix it so you can actually wake up rested. Have you ever taken a sleep supplement only to wake up at 3 a.m. with a racing heart and a tight chest? The answer is hiding right in your kitchen. The organic health food industry heavily promotes whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds as ultimate nutritional powerhouses that you should be consuming every single day to maintain an optimal dietary profile. However, what nobody tells you is that consuming these specific healthy foods alongside your magnesium glycinate supplement triggers an invisible, destructive chemical reaction in your gut that ruins the mineral's bioavailability. Research detailed in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition confirms that phytic acid, a naturally occurring compound abundant in foods like black beans, quinoa, and almonds, functions as a highly aggressive molecular magnet the second it enters your digestive tract. When these plant compounds meet the magnesium molecules in your stomach, they violently bind together to form an impenetrable, insoluble complex known as magnesium phytate. The problem is that your human intestines lack the specific digestive enzymes required to break this newly formed molecular bond apart. Consequently, the premium mineral supplement you specifically purchased to calm your nervous system simply passes through your entire digestive tract as completely useless, expensive waste. This internal chemical hijacking leaves your blood vessels dangerously constricted, your muscle fibers prone to severe midnight cramping, and your brain entirely deprived of the crucial biochemical support needed to initiate those deep, restorative sleep cycles. You might genuinely think you are doing everything perfectly right by eating a healthy quinoa bowl for dinner, but you are actually sabotaging your body's evening recovery process. Healthy eating can ruin your supplementation. This biological blockade is exactly why so many adults feel absolutely zero improvement in their nighttime restlessness, regardless of how consistently they remember to take their expensive pills. Separate your evening dose from any high phytic acid foods by a minimum of 2 full hours to guarantee absorption. Imagine sitting down to a relaxing, well-portioned evening meal featuring a large serving of fresh spinach, perhaps some dairy, or a tall glass of milk, followed shortly by your nightly magnesium dose. A silent but incredibly fierce biological competition immediately erupts inside your intestinal tract the moment you swallow that pill. Both dietary calcium and supplemental magnesium are chemically forced to rely on the exact same cellular transport channels to successfully exit your gut lining and enter your active bloodstream. Because your central nervous system inherently prioritizes calcium for immediate, life-sustaining functions like strictly regulating your heartbeat and maintaining core bone density, calcium will almost always win this biological race for absorption. The National Institutes of Health extensively documents that high concurrent calcium intake heavily suppresses your magnesium absorption rates, sometimes completely blocking it entirely. When calcium molecules aggressively occupy all of the available cellular doorways in your gut, the magnesium molecules are left completely stranded in the empty intestinal space. This competitive exclusion actively prevents the calming glycinate from reaching your neural pathways where it is desperately needed to lower your cortisol levels and induce physical relaxation. Instead of drifting off into a restorative, uninterrupted slumber, you find yourself tossing and turning in bed, highly frustrated by a premium supplement that seemingly refuses to work for your body. Furthermore, the excess, unabsorbed magnesium then artificially pulls excess water into your lower intestine, often resulting in sudden, disruptive digestive discomfort right when you are desperately trying to fall asleep. Your dinner is blocking your cellular pathways. You must actively manage this mineral conflict if you want to protect your financial investment and your nightly rest. Schedule your magnesium intake for a distinct timeframe completely separate from any calcium-heavy meals or dairy products. The soothing evening ritual of brewing a warm cup of herbal or black tea right before bed seems like the absolute perfect complement to taking a sleep supplement, yet it is mathematically one of the worst chemical combinations you could possibly create. Everyday beverages like black tea, green tea, and even decaffeinated coffee are heavily packed with naturally occurring plant compounds known to scientists as tannins and polyphenol. While these specific antioxidants offer distinct, beneficial metabolic advantages during the daytime, they act as literal, impenetrable barricades against mineral absorption at night. Clinical evaluations and digestive studies reveal that tannins aggressively latch onto elemental magnesium molecules in the stomach, forming tightly bound, complex structures that are physically far too large to cross the delicate membrane of your intestinal wall. By carelessly washing down your capsule with a hot mug of English breakfast or even certain chamomile blends, you are essentially guaranteeing a massive, catastrophic reduction in the supplement's total bioavailability. The seemingly innocent and soothing drink effectively neutralizes the clinical, nervous system calming power of the glycinate compound before it even has a chance to enter your blood. This chemical interference completely robs your central nervous system of the vital raw materials it desperately needs to downregulate your stress hormones and turn off your fight or flight response. You will likely lie awake staring at the dark ceiling, constantly wondering why your pulse is elevated and your mind is racing, completely unaware that your favorite evening beverage is the primary culprit behind your misery. Your bedtime tea is stealing your sleep. Eliminating this specific nighttime beverage mistake is a mandatory, non-negotiable step for anyone serious about finally conquering their chronic insomnia. Replace your pre-sleep tea with a glass of plain, room-temperature water at least 3 hours before taking your supplement. While normal, healthy kidney function carefully filters and meticulously retains essential minerals to maintain a strict internal biological balance, introducing any amount of alcohol into this environment completely shatters the delicate regulatory system. Alcohol actively and aggressively suppresses the production of your antidiuretic hormone, forcing your body to unnaturally flush fluids and vital electrolytes at a highly accelerated speed. Extensive research published by the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse indicates that your kidneys can actually excrete magnesium at dangerous rates exceeding 200% above the normal baseline after just 2 standard evening drinks. This rapid, chemically induced depletion creates a massive physiological deficit, literally stripping stored magnesium directly from your deep muscle tissues and your circulating blood plasma. The internal contrast is absolutely staggering. A sober, hydrated body carefully hoards this crucial mineral for vital cellular repair during sleep, whereas an intoxicated body actively and forcefully pumps it straight into your bladder for rapid elimination. The inevitable consequence for your sleep architecture is nothing short of devastating. As your blood alcohol concentration inevitably drops in the middle of the night, the severe, self-inflicted lack of magnesium triggers a sharp, unavoidable spike in adrenaline and cortisol levels. This chemical rebound forces you abruptly awake in a state of high anxiety, complete with a pounding chest and shallow breathing, entirely ruining any possible chance of entering the deep REM sleep your brain requires. Alcohol actively drains your internal mineral reserves. You simply cannot outsupplement the powerful diuretic force of an evening glass of wine or a late-night cocktail. Create a strict, non-negotiable 6-hour barrier between your last alcoholic beverage and your nightly magnesium glycinate dose. A deeply exhausted patient recently came into the wellness clinic incredibly frustrated because she had unilaterally decided to double her evening magnesium glycinate intake to a massive 800 milligrams, yet her restless legs and insomnia had somehow become noticeably much worse. She incorrectly assumed that a significantly larger dose would intuitively act like a much stronger sedative, completely misunderstanding the strict biological and physical limits of the human gut. The European Food Safety Authority has thoroughly mapped what scientists refer to as the inverse dose relationship of elemental magnesium, conclusively proving that swallowing massive quantities in a single sitting drastically plummets the actual percentage your body can realistically absorb. When she flooded her entire intestinal tract with that massive, concentrated dose, her specialized cellular transport proteins were instantly overwhelmed and essentially shut down. The vast majority of the excess, unabsorbed mineral molecules remained permanently trapped in her lower gut, creating intense, painful osmotic pressure that violently pulled massive amounts of water directly from her surrounding tissues. This artificially induced severe bloating and localized gut inflammation, which immediately signaled a systemic stress response to her brain and completely counteracted any relaxing properties the magnesium might have theoretically offered. Her aggressive, impatient dosing strategy was literally dehydrating her internal tissues and heavily spiking her stress hormones right before she tried to sleep. She was spending significantly more money on premium, high-grade supplements only to intentionally induce a state of acute gastrointestinal distress every single night. More magnesium creates violent digestive stress. The human body strictly demands a slow, steady, controlled trickle of minerals, not a massive, overwhelming chemical flood. Divide your total daily magnesium requirement into 2 or 3 smaller doses spaced evenly throughout the afternoon and evening. Why does a massive, visually intimidating 500 mg capsule of premium magnesium glycinate often deliver so little actual, usable physical relief to your overtaxed nervous system? The rampant confusion stems from a fundamental, widespread misunderstanding of complex chemical compounding and the highly deceptive nature of modern supplement labeling laws. When you casually read the front of the plastic bottle, that large, impressive number actually represents the total combined weight of the entire molecule, which heavily includes the large glycine amino acids artificially attached to the mineral. The actual elemental magnesium, the specific, pure active ingredient your cells desperately require to regulate a chaotic heartbeat and safely lower your blood sugar, often makes up just roughly 14% of that total advertised weight. Therefore, a massive, hard-to-swallow pill might logically only yield a measly 70 milligrams of usable elemental material for your body to process. If you continually fail to account for this harsh structural reality, you might easily assume you are perfectly hitting your daily nutritional targets when you are actually running a severe, chronic, and dangerous deficit. This mathematical illusion leaves your body perpetually starved of the necessary chemical cofactors required for deep neurological repair and muscle recovery. You will continue to silently suffer from sudden muscle spasms, crushing morning fatigue, and an utter inability to handle daily emotional stress because your actual, cellular magnesium levels remain critically low. You are essentially starving your biochemistry every single night while genuinely believing you are flooding it with premium healing resources. The bottle label is mathematically deceiving you. Understanding this critical elemental conversion is the only possible way to accurately measure and permanently correct a long-term deficiency. If uncovering these hidden, sleep-destroying absorption traps is already changing exactly how you plan to manage your evening supplement routine, hit the subscribe button and like this video right now. We are about to uncover the most dangerous, gut-destroying mistake that is likely happening in your body tonight, and you need this critical biological information to protect your long-term cellular health. Millions of adults blindly rely on common over-the-counter proton pump inhibitors and daily prescription antacids to comfortably combat chronic acid reflux, completely unaware that these specific medications shut down your mineral absorption pathways almost entirely. The proper digestion and cellular extraction of magnesium heavily depend on a highly acidic, corrosive stomach environment to successfully separate the raw mineral from its attached carrier compounds. Leading medical researchers and gastroenterologists have repeatedly demonstrated that the long-term use of everyday medications like omeprazole drastically alters your gastric pH, virtually eliminating the potent stomach acid necessary to initiate this crucial breakdown process. Without that specific, highly acidic chemical trigger, the expensive magnesium glycinate capsule just moves blindly through your upper digestive tract completely intact. It never dissolves properly, meaning the vital elemental magnesium is never actually released into your intestines for life-saving absorption. This invisible pharmaceutical roadblock creates a silent, highly progressive deficiency that slowly degrades your cardiovascular health and severely destabilizes your mood over the course of several months. You could be diligently taking the absolute highest quality supplement available on the market, but if your stomach lacks the necessary corrosive power, the pill is entirely, biologically useless. The resulting cellular starvation directly fuels chronic, unexplained anxiety and elevates your baseline blood pressure, ironically worsening the exact physical stress that often causes acid reflux in the first place. Your reflux medication is blocking your recovery. You must strategically and intelligently bypass this chemically induced low-acid environment if you want your expensive supplement to actually function. Swallow your magnesium pill with a tablespoon of properly diluted apple cider vinegar to temporarily and artificially restore your stomach acidity. The modern wellness industry relentlessly and aggressively promotes high-dose vitamin D supplementation for optimal immune support, yet taking it without fully understanding its complex relationship to magnesium creates a dangerous, self-inflicted biochemical paradox. Your liver and your kidneys strictly require very substantial amounts of available elemental magnesium to successfully convert synthetic vitamin D into its active, biologically usable hormonal form. When you consume massive, concentrated quantities of vitamin D without simultaneously increasing your daily magnesium intake, your body aggressively mines its own internal magnesium reserves to force the chemical conversion process to happen. A highly detailed study published in the Journal of the American Osteopathic Association explicitly warns that this dangerously unbalanced supplementation actively drains the crucial magnesium securely stored within your bone marrow and deep muscle tissues. The internal biological contrast is absolutely devastating. You firmly believe you are proactively building a stronger, vastly healthier immune system, but you are actually stripping your neurology of the exact minerals strictly needed to maintain emotional stability and a regular cardiac rhythm. This hidden, silent depletion process quietly amplifies severe symptoms of clinical depression, triggers random, terrifying heart palpitations, and causes brutal, paralyzing nighttime leg cramps. You are accidentally accelerating a severe, systemic mineral deficiency under the false guise of proactive health management, leaving your central nervous system entirely unprotected against harsh daily stressors. Vitamin D is draining your internal reserves. Properly balancing these two heavily synergistic nutrients is a strict, non-negotiable biological requirement for optimal physical function and deep nightly recovery. Combine your morning vitamin D routine with a dedicated midday magnesium dose to completely prevent systemic mineral depletion. Everyday maintenance prescriptions like common thiazide diuretics and standard blood pressure medications harbor a very dark, heavily guarded secret regarding your cellular mineral retention that most busy physicians simply do not have the time to properly explain. These incredibly common, widely prescribed drugs are specifically chemically engineered to force your kidneys to excrete excess sodium and water, thereby artificially reducing the overall volume of fluid circulating in your vascular system. However, this highly aggressive, chemically induced flushing mechanism does not discriminate. It vigorously and relentlessly forces vital elemental magnesium out of your bloodstream and directly into your urine for permanent elimination. Hard pharmacological data clearly indicates that typical patients on daily diuretics can rapidly lose up to 3 times the normal, expected amount of magnesium through their urinary tract in a single afternoon. This relentless, ongoing chemical purging means that even a perfectly timed, highly optimized evening supplement might not be nearly enough to outpace the aggressive, drug-induced excretion. The resulting rapid, severe drop in intracellular magnesium directly destabilizes your heart's delicate electrical pathways, greatly increasing the profound risk of dangerous arrhythmias and sudden, terrifying panic attacks that violently jolt you awake in a cold sweat. You find yourself completely locked in a deeply frustrating cycle where the medication saving your blood pressure is simultaneously destroying your sleep architecture and completely fraying your fragile nerves. Your prescriptions are forcing a cellular flush. Effectively managing this extreme urinary mineral loss requires a much more aggressive and closely monitored daily nutritional strategy. Request a comprehensive, specialized red blood cell magnesium test from your primary physician if you take daily diuretic medications. Picture yourself incredibly exhausted at the end of a long, highly stressful day, quickly swallowing your magnesium glycinate capsule with a tiny, inadequate sip of water just before your heavy head hits the pillow. You are entirely unknowingly initiating a massive, localized biological disaster within your delicate intestinal tract, scientifically known as severe osmotic stress. Groundbreaking new research recently published in the European Journal of Nutrition clearly demonstrates that highly concentrated mineral salts absolutely require very substantial fluid volumes to disperse safely and properly. When that completely dry, heavily concentrated capsule suddenly lands in a deeply dehydrated gut, it immediately begins violently pulling moisture directly from the delicate, fragile cellular walls of your intestinal lining. This aggressively fast extraction process causes devastating microscopic tears and significant structural damage to your mucosal barrier, ultimately triggering localized, painful inflammation and actively paving the way for severe leaky gut syndrome. Instead of smoothly absorbing the highly calming compound, your body instantly registers a severe tissue injury, heavily spiking your inflammatory markers and completely flooding your nervous system with cortisol and stress hormones. You wake up the next morning feeling deeply bloated, profoundly nauseous, and highly anxious, incorrectly blaming the supplement brand's quality when the actual, physical cause was your sheer lack of adequate fluid intake. The premium mineral you bought specifically to heal your body is physically tearing your internal tissues apart simply because you failed to provide the necessary transport medium. A dry capsule physically damages your gut. Your proper biological preparation is vastly more important than the specific chemical formulation or expensive brand you choose to purchase. Drink a full 16 ounces of room temperature water alongside every single dose of your magnesium supplement to ensure safe transit. What exactly is a hydration envelope, and why do your highly selective, microscopic cellular transport proteins outright refuse to absorb a single molecule of magnesium without it being present? At the absolute most microscopic biological level, a pure elemental magnesium ion carries a dense, highly active electrical charge that physically prevents it from easily passing through the thick lipid-based walls of your intestinal cells. To successfully bypass this strict biological barrier, the raw mineral must be completely and entirely surrounded by a structured, protective sphere of water molecules, which biological chemists officially refer to as the hydration envelope. If you are chronically dehydrated, as most adults secretly are, your body physically cannot generate this essential, life-saving water casing for the supplement. Without this specific protective fluid sphere in place, the electrically charged, naked magnesium ion just harmlessly bounces off the intestinal wall, entirely unable to penetrate the thick membrane and enter your active bloodstream. It remains permanently trapped in the digestive tract, entirely useless to your starving brain and overtaxed cardiovascular system, before eventually just being flushed away in the bathroom. This catastrophic microscopic failure completely negates the financial cost and physical effort of your entire daily supplementation routine. You remain permanently trapped in a miserable state of high neurological friction, constantly suffering from twitching eyelids, restless legs, and highly fractured sleep, simply because you lack the baseline fluid volume required to facilitate the cellular transaction. Dehydration stops cellular absorption in its tracks. You absolutely cannot hack your way around the fundamental, unbreakable laws of cellular biology and human fluid dynamics. Maintain strict, ongoing systemic hydration by consuming at least half your body weight in fluid ounces every single day. A high-level senior executive struggling with intense, debilitating chronic fatigue and severe, unexplained intestinal cramping decided to completely overhaul his evening routine after discovering the highly destructive nature of cellular osmotic stress. Instead of lazily taking his massive, concentrated dose right before bed with a quick, insufficient sip from the bathroom faucet, he strictly implemented a highly structured, rigid fluid protocol. He began intentionally prehydrating exactly 30 minutes prior to his dosage, ensuring his intestinal mucosal lining was fully saturated, deeply protected, and perfectly prepped for optimal mineral uptake. Furthermore, he actually reduced his total nightly dosage by exactly half, relying entirely on the drastically increased efficiency of a properly hydrated gut to maximize the true bioavailability of the glycinate compound. Within just 14 short days, his agonizing chronic midnight awakenings ceased entirely, and the persistent, highly painful morning bloating completely vanished from his life. By deeply respecting the strict biological requirements of the hydration envelope and actively minimizing the concentrated osmotic pressure, he allowed his heavily damaged intestinal walls to finally repair themselves. He successfully transformed a basic supplement that was previously tearing his gut apart into a highly powerful clinical tool that dramatically lowered his resting heart rate and fully restored his deep, restorative sleep cycles. He did not need a more expensive, premium brand, he simply needed to learn exactly how to properly administer the compound to a human body. Correct hydration heals the intestinal damage completely. Precision in biological preparation will absolutely always outperform blindly swallowing higher quantities of heavily marketed, expensive nutritional supplements. Implement a mandatory 30-minute prehydration window strictly before swallowing your nightly sleep aid to deeply protect your delicate lining. Taking magnesium isn't just about counting the milligrams on the back of a plastic bottle, it is entirely about the specific cellular environment you create inside your body, so master your daily timing and strict hydration protocols to finally unlock the deep, restorative sleep you genuinely deserve. If you found this clinical breakdown